The Steam Next Fest is now live, and you know what that means? Tons of demos from indie devs waiting for you to try them out. But the thing is that there are so many, how do you even decide what to play first? Well, I've spent the last few days testing as many strategy demos as I can, from turn-based action to real-time strategy, from tower defense to a title from the creator behind XCOM that is so different from XCOM I just had to check it out. Hey everyone, I'm Marco, and if you like testing out your brain muscles, then stay tuned. And if you like testing out your finger muscles, then maybe click that like button if you're enjoying my videos, or maybe even subscribe to find more games to get lost in. But let's begin. So coming in at number 12, I've got Howl, a trippy Souls-like deck builder that makes you realize how far we can push pixel graphics, because these are just incredible. The game first caught my eye when I discovered it was being published by 11-Bit Studios, the team that brought us Frostpunk, This War of Mine, and Indica. Now, I love my turn-based gameplay, and Howl just ticks all the right boxes for me. The demo was tough, but I just got so sucked into what was happening on the screen, from the strategic combat to the audio to just the story itself about this mother going on this quest trying to bring her son back to life. It's all really intense, but so is that gameplay itself, where the attacks are unique to a hunter and the beasts make you feel like you're getting lost in this really bizarre world. If you love your turn-based deck building games, then you should definitely check out the demo of Howl today. It was a lot of fun, and I just really enjoyed the visual aspect of it. Then up next at number 11 is He Is Coming, another pixelated adventure, but this time from the publisher's Hooded Horse. Which, yeah, this is quite far from their usual list of management games, but you know what? I really enjoyed this demo. Definitely the least graphic intensive game on the list. He Is Coming is the strategic roguelike RPG that sees you moving around this landscape filled with deadly creatures around every corner. He Is Coming is referring to the Demon King, who rises once more, but during the demo I just got my ass handed to me by these scary creatures. The game is simple, you run around, you gather better gear, and then you have this auto battle sequence where these animals will come and attack you, and this sounds easy, but there is tons of strategy involved beneath the surface. For example, even though it's an auto battler, my death was swift during the first run. I then discovered that you can combine gear, and your gear itself is where you'll be focusing all your time in this game. You've got these attributes, speed, armor, health, and attack, that all impact how well your battles will go. And once I got the hang of it, I was pretty hooked. It was simple but very addictive. This game strips away the AAA graphics and just gave me this raw experience of a fun time. So yeah, definitely check out He Is Coming if that sounds like your kind of jam. Also, if any of these games look like your jam, then let me know in the comments section below which looks best to you. My dad is now watching my videos and he told me he really enjoys reading the comments, so hi dad. Now coming in at number 10 is Chip and Clawz versus the Brainioids. It's quite a title, but this reminded me a lot of the latest Plants vs. Zombies if they had to drop a Ratchet and Clank DLC. What makes this game really interesting though is that it's created by Julian Gollop, the same man behind the XCOM series. Yeah, that Julian. I know, right? I bet you didn't see that coming. There's no turn-based strategy with a percentage chance of missing. This is a completely different game. This is an intense action RTS that allows for co-op and online play. So what do you actually do in the game? Well, you need to mine these purple crystals, which once you have enough, they allow you to build these bot-producing machines. These mining bots will then collect more of these crystals, and everything else will be used to build up your army. You've got these melee rock and sock'em robots, shooter bots, flying drones, and even this mortar-propelled bots that have a hint of adorable in each of them. With your map, you can direct what bots can go where your end goal sees you trying to destroy these aliens and fronts where you'll eventually attack their main base. The visuals reminded me a lot of Ratchet and Clank or maybe even Fortnite, and you know what, I'm on board with this. It's very bright, it's very vivid, and again, it's a complete 180 from XCOM. Your main character, where you can choose either Chip or Clawz, also come with tons of witty, almost corny jokes thrown in there. I mean, these jokes are everywhere, and you'll either like them or not, but I did, and once you get over their humorous dialogue, you also get a lot of melee attacks and weapons that you can use with them, which Again, always keeps you in on the action. The demo comes with this campaign, as well as a competitive versus arena for online and offline play. I know it won't be for everyone, but if you want to play an action RTS with a friend, maybe your partner, maybe even your kid, then definitely check out the demo of Chips and Clawz today. Now for an RTS banger coming out soon, number 9 is Tempest Rising, and I actually covered this game in my top upcoming RTS games video, but it's still around for the Steam Fest, so I'm including it here too. This game is set in an alternate Earth after a nuclear war, and it features 3 distinct factions, but 2 are only playable in the demo, and they've all got their own unique playstyle, economy, and units. Now I was a big fan of the graphics, they look really slick here, but also really enjoyed the action, and it's really intense, where I tried my best to destroy the enemy's base with all types of units here, from footmen to these tanks to helicopters. The units are really diverse, and man, they're very meaty. They feel like you're doing a lot of damage here. Upgrading the buildings as well as farming that precious Tempest, that red stuff covering the battlefield, were all easy enough to do. So all that was left was to micromanage my units as best as possible. It seems RTS is making a comeback this year, so maybe try out Tempest Rising with that demo today if you're missing the days of Command and Conquer and you just wanted a more modern twist. Now next up at number 8, I'm placing down Chains of Freedom. This is a turn-based tactical game that aims to add some interesting spices into the turn-based mix. The story revolves around this virus that has taken over the world, but as long as you're vaxxed, you'll be okay. In the demo, your band of manly men need to investigate what happened to your downed helicopter. Spoiler alert, it was these massive alien-like creatures. Now this game reminded me a lot of Urban Strife, a game that I covered a few months ago, as once you get to the combat, you'll be walking around, learning more about the story, and yes, collecting items. Why? Because what's a game without crafting these days? I tell you, a better game. All jokes aside, I'm a bit tired of crafting ammo in games like this, but you know what, I could look past it as the combat was a lot more exciting than I originally thought. You've got the standards here. You've got your action points that limit you to what actions you'll be able to perform. You can cover. However, there's no Overwatch here. Made me a little sad. I love my Overwatch, but Chains of Freedom focuses more on that gun-to-face battles, either with the infected creatures or these human factions that don't like your attitude. But the best part of the demo though was taking down this massive beast, and I was shooting down barrels to set it on fire. Got really intense, and you have to really know where to place your characters. Will Chains of Freedom break the shackles of my love with XCOM? It's hard to say, but it's a different spin on the turn-based tactical genre, so maybe check out the demo if this looks appealing to you. Now if you're more in the mood to be a king and conduct your kingly duties, then number 7 we've got Yes Your Grace Snowfall. This is a really interesting management RPG, but it's more for admin and bureaucracy lovers out there, so don't expect any intense action sequences here. This is the sequel to the original Yes Your Grace, where you need to decide who to help in your kingdom to keep everyone happy and yourself pretty wealthy. Choices matter so much in this game. During the demo, I had to choose which of my citizens I would help, how I would help them, and also what nickname I would give my child. There's tons of subtle humor thrown in, and the writing itself is just really top-notch. The graphics, while pixelated, also really felt alive here. It's very immersive, even if you're just trying to wake up your pet bear. To get around, you'll jump between different rooms in your castle or travel out to different regions, having your agents complete different missions in order to get more resources. These resources, along with your agents, will aid in how to help more citizens. And at the end of the day, you'll need to pay your agents as well as other auditing decisions. Yes Your Grace will certainly not be for everyone. It's a real slow burner, and I often didn't know if I'd made the right choices or not. But all I knew is that if I were a king in the Middle Ages, this would be as close to the real thing as I can imagine. And to be honest, I did enjoy my time in the demo. So maybe check it out if you're wanting an engaging cinematic kingdom management game, because yeah, this one is definitely a thinker. But back to the tactics action, we've got some cowabunga fun at number 6 with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown. Now I don't know, it seems like this pizza loving IP is so hot right now. but instead of a side-scrolling beat-em-up, we've got now a strategic turn-based beat-em-up. The demo is very bare bones, but once that soundtrack kicked in, I started to settle down in my chair. What kept me playing though was how frantic and fast-paced the gameplay was. You can only play as one of them, and yes, I was a little bummed that you couldn't play as all of them together in one room, but you know what, I could make do. Now the dev behind this game is Strange Scaffold, who also brought us I Am Your Beast. So even though this IP has been overused recently, I'm still staying optimistic here. I really enjoyed the vibe. The characters are like these chess pieces on a board, but the combat also felt pretty cool pulling off these different moves. It also wasn't easy, I got run over a few times, but if you want some more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action, then maybe try out the Tactical Takedown demo today. Who knows, you might really enjoy it. But if you want something that really mixes up genres, at number 5 I've got Wartorn. This is an interesting one, where I can best describe it as a roguelike, squad-based action RTS. Yeah, quite a mouthful. But long story short, you start a run with your main characters, these two sisters wanting to wreak havoc in this fantasy world. Every time you win a stage though, you get to select another unit or team to aid you. This demo threw me straight into the fighting, so it skipped all the story and main campaign. But honestly, this was probably the hardest demo. Wartorn adds in some mechanics like friendly fire and elemental damage that really had me scratching my head during the first few turns. Luckily, spacebar lets you slow down time, not just to look cool during those slow motion battles, but also it allowed me to plan my squad's layout. And that's because there's a lot going on here, as next you also need to deal with what unique abilities you need to apply to what enemies that are in front of you. My massive troll had this ground slam ability that would not only launch small enemies, but also my own heroes if I wasn't paying attention. I had a lot of fun playing Wartorn, and what's interesting to note here is that it's being developed by Stray Kite Studios, who is co-founded by BioShock lead designer Paul Hellquist. But like I said, the demo is really challenging, like I just could not get past defending this caravan, but at the end I had a ton of fun playing it, so maybe check out Wartorn if fantasy roguelike action RTS is your kind of vibe. But then back to the pixel world, we find Nine Kings coming in at number 4. Again, so basic, but so much fun. This is a fast-paced kingdom builder roguelike, which I don't know is such a hot trend in the indie dev space right now. But I can see why. It's also card-based, so you'll need to choose what units or abilities to place where in your kingdom, and then take down the other kings. Again, the battles here look about as visually appealing as watching ants go at it through a magnifying glass, but I still found myself drawn into my little 3-pixeled knights as they tried to defend my land. Now as for those cards, there's a lot more here than you'd expect. You can add units from other kings, you can buff units by placing down farms, or maybe you just want this massive turret that increases its speed at every turn. But what made this demo so fun for me is the strategy in Nine Kings. One moment I was making my main soldiers as staunch as possible, then in the next I was creating this graveyard that would revive adjacent units. Even though the demo was short, I do see a lot of replayability in this game. The different kings have their own units and abilities, and I can't wait to try them all out. So I definitely recommend checking out the Nine Kings demo today, as I think kingdom builders like this should definitely become more of a thing. Now for a tower defense game, remember those? Up next at number 3, I've got Nordhold, a city builder tower defense game that, yes, is also a roguelite. But before you roll your eyes for the 4th or 5th time, this one is a goodie. First up, the tower defense mechanics are strong, with abilities like upgrading up to 8 different attributes on them, but also it's got auto-assigning upgrades. So yeah, this game does not mess around. You also have your standard range of towers like arrow turrets and boulder flingers, but to unlock more, you're going to need to build up your kingdom in the back. Do you need some wheat? Maybe build a mill. Want some stone? Maybe build a mine quarry. You also need to build more houses for your citizens. Then once you're happy, you get to unlock more of the map and the enemies come flooding in. And hopefully they won't destroy your gates, else it's game over and you'll need to start all over again. But because it's a roguelite, you get some meta progression here too, so not all hope is lost. After a few runs, I got the hang of it, and even though it's just a demo, I had a blast trying out different combinations of towers, optimal placing, and seeing which special attacks I could use. So if you want a really fun tower defense game, then definitely check out the Nordhold demo today. Next up at number 2, I've got Machine Mind. This is a post-apocalyptic survival RTS with a twist. This time around, your vehicle or vehicles are modular. So yes, you can build a tank with 5 guns, because why not? I've actually covered this game before, so maybe check out the link in the top if you're interested in seeing more of this gameplay, but it is a ton of fun. Someone in the comments said that it reminded them of Terratech, but there is a lot to this game than I first realized. First up, you've got a base that you need to protect and also upgrade and expand. Turrets were my best friend here, as aiming can be tricky while driving your golf cart sized rover. But once I strapped more guns on it, I was taking down bandits left and right, even attempting bigger challenges like these building-sized turrets that were very scary, but I managed to take down 1 or 2. But then there's the automation. Once I had unlocked this mind sensor, I could tell my bots what to do, like collecting scrap, doing repairs. It was all really cool to see them go off and do their own thing. The best part though is upgrading your own rover. Guns, storage, power, and this was just the beginning of the demo. Eventually I had a vehicle that I think Mad Max would be proud of. I do think it's a very neat concept for a game, and the demo provided a lot of what I wanted to see more of in the full release. So I would highly recommend checking out Machine Mind if that seems like your kind of game. Then lastly, coming in at number 1 is The King is Watching. Oh man, this game is too addictive. Yes, it's basically 9 Kings with an extra 20% more pixels, but to me, I'd buy this game right now if I could. And yes, it's also a city building tower defense strategic roguelike, but to me, it does all of those elements so well, and it was very hard to put down. Again, it seems like a very simple game. You place down tiles in your kingdom, from farms to forests to homes to barracks. But the twist here is that you can only continue producing resources on the areas where the king is watching. Hence the name. So now you need to build up your army on the right, as all types of beasts are coming your way, and you need to be ready, as it's also not an easy game. The music is brilliant, and I also really love the intensity of the game. You can also rotate what your king is seeing, so it looks a bit like Tetris sometimes, and that will always keep you on your toes. But if it's game over, it's not too bad, as there's also that meta progression, so you can unlock things on the side, but eventually you get special abilities and a lot more, and wow, it's very intense. So I would highly recommend checking out The King is Watching today, or even just trying out some of the other demos from indie devs. They always need so much support here, so I always know Lord Gaben is watching, and I guess my dad is watching this, and I guess this is the end of the video. So thanks very much for watching. My name is Marco. This is Easily Distracted Games. And as always, don't stop gaming.